I'm a firm believer that one income is not enough. And today on the Wealth Nation podcast, I roped in Singapore-based entrepreneur Meghla Bhardwaj, and she's going to tell us how you can start your side hustle by sourcing goods in India.
Welcome to the Wealth Nation podcast, a podcast for every mother, daughter, grandmother, sister, and wife, and the men who are smart enough to tune in. The Wealth Nation podcast brings you all you need to know about investments, business, property investments, personal finance, and all-around financial wellness. Here is your host, Yolanda Rose.
Hi there, this is your host, Yolanda Rose, and if you're joining us for the very first time, welcome to the Wealth Nation podcast. I bring you various content, tips, and strategies that you can be using to solidify your finances, retire well, and build generational wealth. Now, if it's the first time that you're joining us on the podcast, welcome. Please subscribe on whichever platform that you are listening on. We are on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher, we're on TuneIn. We're also on YouTube, and on our website, it's www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com. Please leave me a review on whichever platform that you are tuning in. And also, if you missed our last podcast, take a moment to go back and listen to my Budgeting 101 podcast. In there, I give you various budgeting strategies, all the tips that you need to begin budgeting and take control of your finances. The Wealth Nation podcast is sponsored by FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the all-in-one small business invoice and accounting solution. The all-new FreshBooks is accounting software that makes running your small business easy, fun, and secure. Spend less time on accounting and more time doing the work you love. For your 14-day free trial of FreshBooks, go to www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com/FreshBooks. So today we're talking to Meghla. She's based in Singapore and she's been running this new company of hers for a short time now. And she's going to tell us all about how you can be sourcing goods from India, what you need to look for, and how you can start your side hustle, selling goods for dollars on the US market while being based in South Africa and getting your goods from India. So let's jump into the interview with Meghla. Thank you. Welcome to the Wealth Nation podcast. Thank you for giving us your time and joining us today. And tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me here, Yolanda. So I've been working in the sourcing industry in Asia for quite a number of years, 19 years to be specific. I started my career in India, and then I moved to the Philippines, and then I moved to China, where I lived for about 10 years. And I'm currently based in Singapore. So I've been working in the sourcing industries, all these years, and I've been able to visit a lot of the factories in China and in India, and I have a good understanding of how manufacturing and exports and imports from Asia to the rest of the world. I published a lot of research reports for the companies that I worked with when I was in China, and so that allowed me to get a close look at how manufacturing worked. And I've also visited a lot of trade shows in the region. So that's something that I really like to do. I go to trade shows and, see all of the different products over there.
Okay.
More recently, I've been organizing an e-commerce conference for global Amazon and e-commerce sellers in Hong Kong. So that's something that, I've been really passionate about. And I've recently started my own business as well that, we're going to be talking about in a bit.
Okay, cool. Tell us a little bit more about the conference that you're setting up. Maybe our listeners would be keen on joining in on that.
Absolutely. So this is an e-commerce conference that I've been organizing for the last 3 years. Okay. It's organized every April and October in Hong Kong. It's called Global Sources Summit. So it's organized by this company, Global Sources, that is basically a B2B media platform that helps overseas buyers meet and find suppliers in China and other places in Asia. So it's similar to Alibaba, you could say. It's like a supplier directory.
Yes.
And then they also have sourcing trade shows in Hong Kong. So basically, if somebody wants to source products from China, to distribute in their own country, then they can either go to this website, globalsource.com, or they can attend the trade shows and find suppliers there. Okay. So this conference is held at the same time as Global Sources exhibitions. And, the idea of the conference was to attract more overseas e-commerce sellers to Hong Kong to attend the exhibitions and to source more products from Chinese suppliers at the trade shows.
All right, perfect. So you've been in corporate for a while. Why cross over to entrepreneurship?
Well, yeah, I've been in corporate for so long, and there were some, personal circumstances where I had to decide, if I want to, continue working for this company, or if I want to do something else, work for another company, or if I want to start something of my own. So I decided to venture out on my own because I thought that, I have a lot of experience now in sourcing and in e-commerce, and e-commerce is such a fast growing industry right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then, it's just very exciting. I mean, I've always wanted to do something of my own, have a business of my own. I feel that there are just so many possibilities. When you're in corporate, then of course you have that safety net of a corporate, but you're also limited, by corporate guidelines.
Yeah,
and yeah, exactly. So, whereas if you're on your own, it's just it's a bit scary, but it's also there's so many more opportunities as well.
Yeah, you're not limited at all. I'm I'm a fan of entrepreneurship myself. So tell us about your business. What kind of service do you provide?
Okay, sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually organizing a sourcing trip to India in October. So this is a guided tour where I will take a group of e-commerce sellers, mostly from the US, Australia, and other countries, Singapore as well. And I will take them to this fair in India that's called the Indian Handicrafts and Gifts Fair. And I will also do a course for them during the trip. And that course aims to teach them everything about sourcing from India. For example, how to find suppliers, how to vet suppliers, how to conduct quality control, how to manage logistics. So everything that they need to know about sourcing products from India will be taught during this trip. And at the same time, we'll also take them to the fair. We'll do a guided tour of the fair. We'll help plan their how they walk the show floor and how they talk to the suppliers, what kind of information they gather from the suppliers. And apart from that, we're also going to be, offering them a cultural program. So we're taking them to the Taj Mahal, for example. And we're also, and a lot of networking. That's the other, advantage. And that's something that we're going to be focusing a lot on during this trip, just providing people the opportunity to talk to each other and network and learn from each other.
Of course. Okay, cool. Is this happening in Delhi?
Correct. Yes, this is happening in Delhi.
All right. And can you give us the dates for that event?
Sure. So the dates are October 14th to the 20th.
Okay. And if our listeners want to reach out and find out more about this specific trip, how can they do that?
So they can head over to the website, which is indiasourcingtrip.com. Or they can send me an email at info@indiasourcingtrip.com.
Okay, perfect. So either to work with you, you gotta attend the trade show or take this trip, or is there any additional services that you provide, online consulting or anything like that?
So as of now, I don't provide any services. I'm very, new into setting up my own business. So I'm taking it slow. So I'm starting off with this trip. And then the other thing that I'm doing is I'm trying to build a community of online sellers in Asia. So the brand is going to be called The Asian Seller.
Yes.
And I'm going to have a podcast, and I'm going to be organizing events and conferences and meetups, and maybe do some training as well for sellers in Asia. So like Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, India, those countries. Apart from that, I've got this Facebook group for India sourcing. In case anyone's interested to learn more about India sourcing, they're free to join the Facebook group. There's a lot of free information and a lot of exchange of information happening in the
how do we get to the group?
So you could search for Sourcing from India on Facebook as a group, and that's the name of the group, Sourcing from India, Amazon FBA private label.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to put all of these links in the show notes so our listeners can get it at a later stage after they listen to the podcast. I just want to quickly tell you about some really cool audio content. Now, since you're listening to this podcast, you most likely enjoy consuming audio content. I wanted to tell you about Amazon's Audible platform. Audible is a subsidiary of Amazon and is the world's largest producer of digital audiobooks. Their selection include over 300,000 best-selling digital audiobooks, radio and TV programs, and audio subscriptions to popular magazines and newspapers. I would like to give you a 30-day free trial of Audible. All you got to do is go to www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com/audible and click on one of those links, and it's going to take you to your 30-day free trial where you can download 2 free audiobooks from Audible.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Tuned In. Now back to the show.
All right. So tell us now, for the South African entrepreneur, we're down here in South Africa. I did mention that I know a lot of people personally that go to India, that source goods in India multiple times a year for businesses in South Africa, either to sell online or to sell on the stores. But the most popular one I find is that people are going to India and bringing back Eastern goods, bridal wear, jewelry, perfume, and that kind of thing. So for those kind of women or those kind of entrepreneurs, how can they get started with sourcing quality goods from India other than joining the tour later on this year?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, one of the things is you can actually go to India, right? I mean, that's, of course, very high investment. And, you can go meet suppliers or go to wholesale markets and buy smaller quantities from there. But I would encourage people to just start online.
Yeah.
So, specifically if you want to source to sell online, then the number one thing that you need to do is, decide what product category you want to sell.
Okay.
If you want to sell on one of the local websites, for example, in South Africa, then, do some research to find out what kind of products are really popular on those types of websites. And then once you've got your product category, then you go and try to look for suppliers for those product categories. Now, I would say that, China and India, those are the two main sources that you would try to find products from.
Yes.
And there are some products that India is very competitive in, and there are other products that China is competitive in. So depending on the product category and the product that you want to source, you could decide whether you want to go to China or India, or you want to source from China or India. Yeah.
Okay,
so
but
to give
pricing-wise, sorry, Meghla, pricing-wise, who would you say is more competitive? Is it China or India?
It totally depends on the product category because each country has its own competitive strengths. For example, if you're sourcing genuine leather products, India is better. It's more competitive because they have higher quality raw materials. They have more of, the cow and buffalo kind of leathers. Whereas China, they do a different they do pig leathers mostly.
Okay.
And their leathers are not as high quality. So the prices are also a little more expensive over there.
Okay.
Whereas if you want to do something like a spatula, for example, a silicone spatula, that you would not be able to find in India. If you do, it's going to be very expensive. So that's better sourced in China. So any product that is mass produced and that requires, automation and that can be produced on a large scale is better in China. And the more handmade kind of products or higher value, higher perceived value kind of products would be in India.
Okay. What about electronic goods?
China. Totally China. Yeah. Electronic goods is all China. There are some, components that are being manufactured in India. Yeah. And there are some mobile phone factories that are being set up, but those are mostly being set up by the large brands, mostly from China or the US, who want to sell into the domestic market as well.
Oh, okay.
But there aren't too many OEM suppliers of electronics products in India as of now. Yeah. India is good for, I'll tell you the products that India is good for. One is textiles.
Okay.
That is really good. Textiles and apparel, specifically textiles and apparel made of the naturally occurring materials such as cotton, wool, silk, because India has an abundant supply of raw materials. So those products are really good. And then you'd also find a lot of home decor items, such as products made of metal, brass products. For example, India is really strong in brass. Wooden products, that's another huge category. And because of the recent tariffs on China-made products, in the US, many of the US importers are actually moving their wooden product sourcing to India. And then there are other things like jute. There's furniture. Jute is a material that's used to make various products like bags or rugs.
Interesting.
Wide range of products. And then fashion jewelry, fashion accessories such as scarves, belts, bags. And then eco-friendly products are also doing well from India. So, for example, products made of rattan.
Bamboo products and things like that. Right? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And then food items. Another product category from India would be food items like tea, coffee, spices, rice.
Yeah, I know. We get contingents of that coming to Durban all the time. The Indian. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So, a local person wanting to get into entrepreneurship in India, they'd go online, have an idea of what product that they're interested in selling, or what's gonna really kick off well here in South Africa. And then, are there any online portals, like I know for China you have Alibaba and AliExpress? Is there something similar for India?
So for India, the two websites that are popular for China, you would start on those websites as well. So Alibaba and Global Sources. Those are the two websites. And basically what you would do is search for the product on these websites and then filter by supplier location. So you can see suppliers specifically from India on those websites. And then there's another website called India Mart. So indiamart.com. And you'd be able to find a lot of India suppliers there as well. But the problem is that a lot of those suppliers also cater to the domestic market. So you just want to be aware of that, because sometimes they may not be familiar with the requirements of different countries around the world, or they may not have export licenses. So just be a little aware of that.
Okay, so eventually we do find our supplier. Tell us a little bit about how do we get products in our stores, in our homes here in South Africa, direct from India?
Okay, so there are a couple of things. Once you've decided the product, then second is you look for a supplier, and that could take a couple of weeks to a couple of months. You got to make sure that you have the right supplier that can make the specific product that you want. And then you can decide if you want to put your own brand on the product. And that can work in a couple of ways. You could, maybe do some nice packaging. You could design some packaging and then get that packaging printed in India as well. There are packaging suppliers, so that you have your own brand name and logo printed on the packaging. You could also put your brand and logo on the product itself. Right. So that's one option if you want to develop your own private label, your own brand.
Yes.
And then basically you place an order with the supplier. I would always suggest to start small. Don't place an order of like $5,000-$10,000, straight away, especially if you're new to all of this. Just test the waters a little bit and test the supplier a little bit. Place an order of, maybe like 20, 50 units initially. And when you place smaller orders, then maybe the price is going to be slightly higher, because for a supplier, it's more cost effective for them to produce in higher volumes. So they might charge you a higher price when you place smaller orders. But, start small and then get those products shipped to you. You can work with a logistics service company to get the products shipped to you. And, they will manage everything, including the shipping and the customs clearance and all of those things for you. And then once you receive the products in Africa, then, list them on the website, or, start selling them offline in brick and mortar. And depending on how they sell and what kind of feedback you get on the products, then you can decide that you want to scale and order in higher volumes.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Meghla, let's talk about drop shipping a bit, especially for those that are not familiar with the concept.
Yeah, absolutely. So drop shipping, there aren't too many suppliers in India that do drop shipping currently. So most of the drop shipping is done by China. Now, what exactly is drop shipping? So it's basically when a supplier has a product in another country, say China or somewhere else, and you, the seller, you create a listing and you list the product, and then whenever you make a sale, then the product is shipped directly from the supplier overseas to the customer, wherever the customer is based. So that's drop shipping. So basically, you, the seller, are not holding any inventory, and it's less, risk for you because there's not much of investment. Okay. However, there's also, you're not really sure of the quality of the product because there's so many different variables. Even though you may have seen a sample from the supplier that you're drop shipping from, there can be variations in the quality, and your customer may not be happy with the quality of product that they receive, and there can be some dissatisfaction. So there's less control for you over the product quality. I think that's one issue.
All right. Okay. No problem. I actually had the same problem. I started a drop shipping service when I was outside the country in the Middle East, where I found drop shippers in China and marketed the products, women's clothing and things like that, in South Africa. And then the South African Postal Service basically crashed, and obviously customers were not happy. So for my listeners, I would recommend something like Amazon, where they can really leverage a weak currency like the South African rand, and basically sell in dollars and get profits on dollars.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Amazon is such a great opportunity nowadays for people all around the world, because the beauty of Amazon is that you don't have to be based in America, or you don't have to be an American to sell on Amazon.com or Amazon Europe or Australia. Anybody can sell on any of the Amazon websites. Of course, there are certain restrictions. Like, for example, in India, you need to have a local partner, and need to have a specific company. But, Amazon US is where most people start with. And, of course, it's the biggest Amazon marketplace in the world. And it's growing really fast. So a lot of people have found huge success selling on Amazon, and I would encourage people in Africa to, venture into this and explore this opportunity as well. And there is just so much information available out there about selling on Amazon. There are YouTube videos, there are blogs, there are low-cost courses. So I think the first thing people should do is just try and learn as much as they can about selling on Amazon from overseas. Okay. And, then take it step by step. There are a lot of different courses. I mean, some of them, range from a couple of $100 to a couple of $1,000 as well. But there's also a lot of information available for free. And in fact, I'll recommend this one course that costs only $1. Wow. So this has been created by a person called Brock Johnson from the US. He's a really nice person. He's a successful Amazon seller. And he's put together this course with, 100 plus videos. I haven't gone through all of the videos, but I've seen a couple of them, and I've met Brock personally. Yeah. And he's very knowledgeable. But, check out this course. It's just $1, and it's got quite 100 plus videos, and it tells you everything about how to start on Amazon, how to sell products, how to list products, and the entire process. So you can check it out. Awesome. We're going to put a link on that course in our show notes as well. Okay, cool. So you have anything else for our listeners today, Meghla, before we wrap it up? Yeah, I think, we are living in such an exciting age today with the e-commerce and with the internet and, with mobile commerce growing so fast. So I think today is a really good time for entrepreneurs, and especially women. I think this is a huge opportunity for women to start their own businesses from the comfort of their homes. So, I would encourage everyone to look into e-commerce and try to learn how you can maybe sell either on the local websites in Africa or on Amazon.com. It's just a really big opportunity for all of us, and we should try to tap into it. Awesome. Thank you, Meghla. And if our listeners want to reach out to you, how can they get a hold of you? So they can search for me on Facebook. That's the easiest way. Just type in my name. And or they can also send me an email at info@indiasourcingtrip.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to link up all of your contacts in our show notes as well. Thank you, Meghla, for your time. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much, Yolanda, for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to visit our website at www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com and sign up for our free investment masterclass.